Hey guys, real quick. I gotta pee really bad.
Yep. Okay.
So can you give me like 2 minutes?
Yes, and we'll cut this. Yes.
Not even 2 minutes. No. 45 seconds.
You don't want to leave that in there? Him needing to go pee?
Hey guys, thanks for listening. This is the Sports Den podcast. I am here with Jonathan and Amber and myself, Brian. We got a whole lot to talk about today. We're going to have a really good conversation on a wide variety of topics. So I'm just going to kick it right over to Jonathan. We're going to jump right in.
Well, first topic. Happy birthday, Amber. It is your birthday today.
It's yours too.
And yes, we share the same birthday. I have not told anyone it was my birthday in the group chat today. But
He's older.
And so I am a year older than Amber, but we won't go into how old I am because that will tell how old Amber is. So yeah. So it is both of our birthdays today, and so happy birthday.
Thank you.
With that being said, I love the time of my birthday because it is right. Again, I think we talked about this last week. October is the best month of sports ever. It's
Absolutely.
everything. I love it. I wish we could have gone to homecoming today. Like our town's homecoming is today, the high school. So if there's loud fireworks, we're not getting shot at. They probably just won a homecoming game. So just clarify with that. It's awesome. Wish we could have gone to that today, but we had some other plans. But NBA preseason is in October. That is always an exciting point. I think, like, I complained a lot about preseason last week, but I think the NBA still has the best preseason.
Why is that? Why do you think the best preseason?
Because it's the shortest in terms of, like, the quickest turnaround. It's 2 weeks, and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
So I like that. Now, spring training, I think, has more spring training has more oomph because people can actually break out in spring training. Like, you've got 4 games in NBA preseason. That's not enough time for someone to actually break out and, this person might actually be good. But I do like the short turnaround. Okay, this is what teams are going to look like. This is what they're going to play like. Okay, cool. Let's get the season started.
I think that I'll agree. Short preseasons are great. What I like what the NBA does that I would love to see the NFL do as far as preseason goes is I would love because they'll play club teams from overseas, right? Like the NBA teams, and we'll talk.
See, that's what I complained about. But yeah, go ahead.
But they do.
No.
Yeah.
This is why I like that because it gives those clubs and those teams it's a novelty. So you're playing against the same 30 teams every time. Rockets, Bulls, Lakers. It kind of is like like the Mavericks are playing some team from Turkey, and I'm gonna watch because I want to see these guys that I've never seen before. I would love to see like the NFL maybe take on a Canadian team and find some middle ground on these rules, or do something different, just kind of mix it up. But honestly, I do agree the NBA preseason is nice, 2 weeks, short and concise. The NFL preseason is way too drawn out.
Mm-hmm. I think my only issue with playing those club teams is sometimes those club teams stink really bad.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think the reason they do the club teams is football's not at like the Olympics or anything.
Sure.
You do have that with basketball, so it lets you know, okay, what are we looking at when we're playing Turkey?
That's fair.
Like, because you're seeing how they play the game and what players are bringing in. So I like it, and from a competitive standpoint, I would like to see what my competition has to offer. So you're playing against one of their star teams, and you're one of the good teams. So if you can beat the star team, like, you should feel pretty good about yourself. If you're struggling against them, then you're like, okay, Olympic time coming.
To Jonathan's point, think if you're going to be, the Golden State Warriors and you're going to play a Division 3, I don't know how they class, so a Class 3 Greek team, I think that's different than playing like the Warriors versus the country of Spain. Like that might be a much better matchup, and it's preseason. You don't want people to get hurt. You're not playing everybody. It's for exhibition and fun. But honestly, I would love to see some of these FIBA teams play some of these NBA teams. Adam Silver.
Only problem is like half those players would be on a team.
Oh,
and because we're getting to the point that the league is increasingly global. I would love it. Like I have no problem with it when they play like Olympiacos or Barcelona. It's when they play like some really low level team from China that is no good.
Yeah.
Like the Rockets played a game last week where it was like, I think at halftime it was like 84-12.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It just was awful. And it's just not good basketball.
Right.
Then the Nets played a game, and I watched it solely because I wanted to see how that new court looked on TV, and it looks awesome. But it was just the Nets could fast break however much they wanted because everyone else on the team was so unathletic on the other team.
Sure.
And so it was not necessarily good basketball.
Well, there's a balance, but I like it. I also think it promotes, and I think they're doing it on purpose. They want other countries to produce basketball stars. And the only way you're going to do that is if you get people to want to watch it. So you want them to watch you. So it's like they'll see how awesome you are as a team, and maybe they'll watch American basketball. And honestly, when I was overseas, you couldn't get a lot of American sports, but you could a lot of times get the basketball teams, especially during the during the big games where it's like this person's going to possibly win it all or something. Those ones you would watch. And so it was nice, but they're doing it because you might get a really good player like Giannis who wasn't necessarily going to 100% be in America, but he ended up.
Someone found him.
But they found him because he was interested in basketball because you promoted it where he was.
Like, and to your point, I absolutely would love baseball to do spring training series against Japanese teams. I would love that.
I feel like that would be much more fair because I think that the level of talent in Japan is more comparable. Yeah. And actually, there might be some Japanese teams that are better than some MLB teams, honestly.
We're looking at you, Orioles. We're looking at you.
Yes. Sorry, Tigers.
We're Orioles, Marlins, Tigers. Yeah.
It's
when I was overseas, I'm not gonna lie, we had this Japanese guy that would play softball with us, and so he worked with the Japanese Peace Corps, and I'm not joking. That guy was everywhere all the time. He was so fast and he was so quick on everything, and we found out later that he almost went pro in Japan. And I was well, no wonder. And I was saying, no wonder we can't ever do anything against that guy.
And that's equivalent to playing AAA here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I would absolutely argue that the Japanese league is equivalent to at least our AAA. It might be better than our AAA.
But just
if you look even with the Little League World Series, the Japanese kids, those Japanese kids are really, really, really good. Those 11, 12, and 13. And so, absolutely. I would love, there has been talk, and I know this is a little off topic, but talk of like an NBA mid-season tournament. And I don't know if it's ever going to happen. This was about 2 years ago. It was on the table. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I like that idea. That was what I was saying.
I like the idea because but the thing is if we could give it like some international flavor to it, to make a tournament around an All-Star weekend and make All-Star weekend maybe an All-Star week, and we can give those NBA guys more rest. We talked about extending the season last week. If we took All-Star weekend, turned it into All-Star week, and then did some sort of international tournament, I don't know. I'm not going to put it together on the fly here on this podcast, but it would be really interesting just to see what we could do. But going back to preseason, I think the NBA does a good job of keeping it nice and short, and it waters your taste buds just enough for you to get excited about the regular season without feeling drawn out.
And while we're on the topic of the NBA and some international stuff, boy, did we have some issues. Like, it felt like right as soon as we got done recording last week, I guess it was Saturday night, right as soon as we uploaded,
all
the things exploded. Basically, we're not ESPN, so we don't get a mandate to not talk politics. So basically, we have a authoritarian state in China, and there's some political protests in Hong Kong against that. Hong Kong occupies a really unique set of its own rules and also China's rules because of really colonialism. And so there are people in Hong Kong that are requesting more freedom, and they want more freedom from the Chinese government, and they are in protests and threatening outright revolution. And so Daryl Morey, who's the GM for the Houston Rockets, who I would argue has probably had more of an impact on basketball than probably anyone since probably Michael Jordan, in the fact that he is the one who created the true shooting percentage idea. He started Sloan Conference, which is he is the father of the analytics revolution. He, in the 12 years he has been the Rockets GM, they are the third winningest team in sports. They've never had a losing season. And he basically tweeted a support of these Hong Kong protesters, and all hell broke loose. It went crazy. The Chinese government had a bunch to say about it. The Rockets receive a bunch of income in China because of Yao Ming, and they're big in China, and so they had a lot of pushback from the Chinese government. I believe all their merchandise has been pulled from stores, and they will no longer be shown on television in China. All this stuff, the authoritarian government there shoved a lot back, and so then it looked like the NBA was about to fire Daryl Morey, about to step in and force the Rockets to fire Daryl Morey. There was all sorts of huge things with that. Then there was so much pushback from Americans that the NBA had to walk back what they were saying, and now they're in this kind of like weird middle ground of like, we like free speech, we're not going to do anything to him, but we are going to make him apologize to China, and he deleted the tweet. And this really weird, awkward middle ground. I have some thoughts on this, but I'll let you guys give a response before I go.
Well, first off, we obviously care way too much what China thinks. And the thing is, if you're going to, I get that they have money. But the thing is, if you're going to be a country where you pride yourself on the freedom of speech and the freedom to give your opinion, what he said was not rude. It was pretty much just like, I really support those.
He said, stand with freedom, stand with Hong Kong.
That was it. I mean, it wasn't like he bashed like really hard the Chinese government. And so I think it blew out of proportion really fast. And I think all they had to do was come out and say simply, we do not agree with his statement, and we apologize if it offended you, but he was stating his opinion. And that's all they had to do. And instead, they made it a much bigger deal than it was, and I think it fueled China's reaction.
Right.
Because you're like, yeah, what he did was awful. And so then they're like, yeah, it was. And you're just fueling the flames instead of being like, listen, we apologize. Yeah. I think he took it the wrong way. He just has a heart for those that are searching for freedom that we have here. And he's not there to understand all that's going on, because we're not. Mm-hmm. And you could have played it off very easily and like let him, but making him apologize, I don't think was necessarily right.
I think there's this thing is multi-layered. Obviously, there's a money issue. You know, Jason Whitlock, I sent that video to earlier. You know, okay, so the NBA is an $8 billion a year industry, and Nike's a $40 billion a year industry. You know, Jason Whitlock was saying that the NBA bows to Nike and Nike bows to China. Nike doesn't exist without Chinese labor. Let's just be real about it. So there's a lot of money at stake. For what was said, you know, I don't always agree with President Trump. I maybe not as outspoken as some, but I think it was appropriate and to say that guys like Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich were cowards in the way they handled the questions about this issue. That like I don't really know. There's two sides. There's not really two sides. There's like one and a half sides to this thing. I don't know anybody, and maybe it's just because of the circles I run in, is from a day to day person who is siding with China on any of this. Like I don't know the left or the right. Like I have friends on the left stand with Hong Kong. I have friends that like this is the most bipartisan as far as normal people go. But the thing is the people at the top may love democracy, but they love their $110 billion more than they love freedom. And so it really comes down to, I think it just comes down to the money issue. And we're going to get into some of the more, how this is expanded throughout some other sports with Blizzard and some other things. But seriously, like, I honestly think this whole thing, it just comes down to money. And I think that it'll be interesting to see that as we get move closer to this United States election, how questions will be posed to the nominees about, hey, what does our relationship with China look like because of all of this? Like, are we going to bow our knee to China? Like, is bowing our knee to China and getting really cheap stuff and buying really cheap stuff online worth the lives of those in Hong Kong? And I think we're gonna, it's gonna be really interesting. And I back the Rockets GM on this.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think the NBA is super hypocritical. Was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, they moved the All-Star game out of
Charlotte.
North Carolina over the bathroom bill.
Right.
Over the bathroom bill. They moved the All-Star game, and Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich led the charge on that, and called it a human rights issue, and said the NBA should not. They said the NBA Speaking of rivalries, we have one of my favorite rivalries in all sports. The Red River Showdown is tomorrow, so this will probably be already posted. Actually, the game might be over by the time this is up, but we won't know. We obviously cannot tell the future, but it's one of my favorites. It has one of my least favorite things in sports, so I'll get this as an aside. I am a Longhorns fan. I am a big Longhorns fan. I do not know a single Longhorns fan that is offended by this. Except, like, you know what I mean.
No, because
though.
you did it. You're a Longhorn fan, you don't do that.
Yeah.
OU fans, go for it.
Yeah. But I don't know anyone who's offended by horns down. A single person. Never. You know why? Because we freaking have a huge 1,000-pound cow that we carry around on campus, and we pick up its poop in a bucket that's labeled OU.
We can't.
I mean, we don't care. Like, that's the nature of sports and rivalries, and it's what makes sports good.
Well, and like part of OU Texas rivalry, and I really love it. Now, some people take it too far, but part of it is the trash talk. Like, even when you know you're probably going to lose, you're not gonna let the other one know that.
Brian understands exactly what that is. He's a Bills fan. He understands trash talking when you're gonna lose.
But last year it was just so frustrating because Hager, who I'm so proud of you, but I wish you were still on the Longhorn team right now. But they made a mention of it, like, how does it feel to win this game, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, well, it's not that hard. OU sucks. And, like, walks away. Because it's, like, part of – and you have to understand,
and the Big 12 made him apologize.
They made him apologize and threatened to fine him and all this type of stuff. And I was like –
threatened to suspend him because they can't find someone who doesn't make money.
OU has stuck their flag in the middle of the field when they win games.
Right. Baker.
Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and that's okay. But saying OU sucks at the end of, like, the rivalry game. And so now they're doing all this stuff. You can't do horns down. You can't do you can't yell OU sucks. You can't do this. You can't do that. If you're at a Red Raiders game, you can't holster the gun.
No. The team officials players.
Even with fans, supposedly they're going to be harder on fans on the stuff they say because it's gone too bad. And the thing is, like, I get that sometimes it gets under control, but usually the people that go out of control have drank too much, and so they're drunk and they just need to leave anyway. Been to games. There are those people that, drank a keg before the game, and they're going to drink another one during the game. And I'm sure they're nice people when they're not drunk, but they've had a bit too much to drink, and they're at a game. And you're going to go crazy because that's part of the game. But, like, I think it's kind of fun when you score to do your, like, victory dance when you make a touchdown or to do
I'm super upset because this is the first time in, like, 15 years both teams have been this good going into this game. And,
like, I really do think it's going to be
right now, the story of this game is not, dude, both of these historic programs, like, two of the top 4 storied programs in college football history are this good, and this showdown is going. It's going to be a great offensive. Both teams have a Heisman candidate at quarterback. Both teams are playing super well, and the whole story of this game is going to be: did someone do horns down or not? Right. And it's like, that's not the point of this, and it makes me sick. And I kind of just hope this whole California bill burns the NCAA to the ground over this, because it's so stupid.
Anyway, back to the game.
Yeah, back to the game.
The game that we're excited about. I think it's going to be a really good game because we do have 2 people that are in the talk for the Heisman. Ellinger and
Jalen Hurts.
Oklahoma 5 right now.
I think Oklahoma's 5 or 6, and then I know Texas is 11.
11.
But I can't remember.
Let me
check that.
Give a fact
But
check
we have some good quarterbacks. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game because I think both. I'm not saying that they're bad defenses, but defense is like a bit on the weaker side. I know the Texas secondary is really disappointing to me. At least I feel like it's very disappointing. They're not where they're supposed to be.
A Big 12 team has not had a good secondary since Ndamukong Suh was playing
well,
for
and
the
for the
Cornhuskers
Longhorns,
and completely negated the need to blitz.
Yes. Well, and the Longhorns lost Hager.
When Ndamukong Suh was playing for the Huskers, they were in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So a Big 12 team hadn't had a good defense in probably 20.
Right,
No, because the Huskers were in the Big 12 2009 because they played the Big 12 championship against Colt McCoy, and Ndamukong Suh nearly won that game.
It was incredible.
I remember that. That was a good game. That was a good game,
and it was all him.
And the Sooners are 6.
Gotcha.
Are 6.
But
Ndamukong, we can talk about Ndamukong Suh. I think Ndamukong Suh might have been the most dominant college football player of all time.
He was.
But
I think he's one of the only ones I've seen that really could carry the team. I've never seen someone able to do what he did. I don't want to. Vince Young was very impressive too, but as far as his position goes, he was incredible. I was sitting there. I remember watching the game, and I was very happy that the Longhorns won. But I remember sitting there watching him, and I was just in awe that he was able to do what he did. I was like, how did he get free?
The Heisman that year
how did he get to? How did he do that? You're sitting there how did you do that? And you're watching the replay, and you still don't know how the guy did it.
Right.
It was
you should not have done that. You should not have gotten through.
I'm
not a Longhorns fan, but I can remember. I think it was Earl Thomas. Watching him play, ridiculous. Mm-hmm. He was he was playing safety, but I've never seen a safety that was that fast. He had ridiculous speed. I remember watching him he's going to be a Hall of Famer. In college, I remember watching.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. But yeah, I think that for this game, is all going to come down to Jalen Hurts from Oklahoma. Can he play perfect? Can he throw 5 touchdowns and 400 yards? Because I think that's what it's going to take. Whichever quarterback is going, I think it's going to be basically first to 35 wins kind of game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, probably.
Well, I think it's going to be on both of them because both quarterbacks can be extremely accurate, but they have those moments where they throw an interception.
It's
and
we know they both can run. We know both Ellinger and Hurts can run. They both have got legs that move and work. It's going to be whichever one of them gets the better passing game. Right. It is going to be whoever passes best goes because OU has no defense to speak of. Texas had 2 of their best defenders graduate. We'll talk a little bit, I think, about Aminahue in our next segment. He's a backup for the Texans, and then Brecken Hager, who was their only defensive, he was their defensive force. He would bounce between linebacker and defensive end, whatever they needed for him. He's on the Browns.
Proud of him, but I miss him.
He's on the Bears practice squad right now because he's trying to convert back to a linebacker. So
here's why I'm going to give Oklahoma the edge, and I know I'm talking to 2 Texas fans here. I think it's the Cliff Kingsbury factor. He's the quarterback. I think that if you were talking about what quarterback's going to throw the ball better, there is no college coach in the country that prepares his quarterbacks better than Kingsbury does. And so I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout by any stretch. I really think it's going to be a 1-score game, and I think the over/under is going to be 80. It's going to be one.
It's going to be a Red River shootout.
Right.
Well, and I think I think they're properly ranked. I think Texas. And this is a lot of times OU will be ranked more, and you're they're not better, and going in they're not better.
I actually think OU might be a little low.
But the thing is, at the same time, and this is what I love about this game or any kind of rivalry, even when Texas has a terrible year where they have no business winning a game, they win because it's a rivalry and you show up. And that's what I like about all rivalry games is you actually, even when one team is not ranked and the other one's ranked number 1, you still could end up slaughtered by this team that wasn't supposed to do anything, and they won't do anything else the rest of the year. But they show up to the rivalry game. And so that's what I like about it. Both teams are going to come, and they're going to come to play, and that's why I love it. I loved it when A&M still was with us, and then it becomes we're losers and leave. I'm still mad at you because oldest rivalry. But the Longhorn Aggies game was also great because oldest rivalry. It was great. And all the teams have their rival. And those are always they're the fun games. They're pretty much always going to be the close games. You always have those years, but usually they're good games. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
And both of them, I feel like they're actually evenly matched this year.
So let's get a prediction from you guys. I'll just, real quick, I got OU winning 45-38. 45-38?
Yeah. What about you, Amber?
Well, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to go with my Longhorns because...
What kind of score you got?
What score are you thinking?
Let me think about it. I'm going to need to think. Go. I need to think.
I honestly, like I said, I think OU is a little bit better this year, obviously. Now, I think Texas's loss isn't as serious of a loss. A one-score loss to LSU is not that big of a deal. Because LSU is supposed to be this big defense that could stop everyone, and they didn't stop Texas's offense. And OU is not going to stop it either. I think over/under will be about 80, and I think it'll be a one field goal game. I think someone will win by a field goal.
Yeah, I'm going to say
I'm going to
say Texas winning, but 38, 35, something like that. I think it's going to be a higher score game. I would not be surprised if there's 45 points there. I think it's going to be I will be surprised if it's just one touchdown or something.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to come down to there might be more field goals in this one. And but because they both have kickers that can actually
games in Texas though, right? Yeah, games at Texas.
It's in Dallas.
Yeah, it's in Dallas.
Because they meet halfway because you don't want to go.
So foreshadowing to 2 weeks from now, I'm excited for my boys to play Ohio State. That's going to be a heck of a game. I know it's not on our list today, but we have 3 shutouts this year. 3 shutouts this year. We're giving up an average of 4 or 5 points a game. This is the best Badgers defense that I've seen in a long time.
I don't understand why you're not ranked higher.
That's
the thing. We talked about Oklahoma. I don't think there's 6 teams in the country that's better than Oklahoma, and I don't think there's 8 teams that are better than Wisconsin.
No, I would love to see us play. Now we have Michigan State this week, and then we have Ohio State the following week, and then that'll be
2 tough games.
That'll be 2 tough games, but then I think we have one more ranked opponent. I don't remember what it is. If we beat Ohio State in the regular season, we better be in the top 4. That's all I have. If we slide up to 5 and they won't put us in the top 4, I would be so upset. But anyways, that's another 2 weeks from now. We'll probably talk more about the Badger Buckeye game.
Speaking of some former Texas, speaking of some former Big 12 guys, we got to throw out Ndamukong Suh. We threw out some other stuff. We've got a couple of Big 12 guys in our upcoming game this week. We've got Charles Omenihu. He is a backup linebacker for the Texans. Looks like he is primed to kind of take over that Clowney role. He'll be that's a lot to put on him because Clowney was awesome. I don't think Omenihu's quite got that ceiling, but Texas's defense has been pretty solid. With I think Honey Badgers really transformed that secondary, and Watt looks healthy for the first time in 6 years. So it's been a pretty decent defense, but the real thing is the other Big 12 guy, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
and I cannot wait to see him and Deshaun Watson go at it. It's some of my favorite. I think I espoused my love of the mobile quarterback last week. I absolutely love mobile quarterbacks. It's my favorite. And I can't think of a quarterback duo I like more unless maybe Lamar Jackson was in this game. But there's my 3 favorite quarterbacks to watch right now are Deshaun, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes.
I actually like Deshaun. I'm not power ranking them, but more on like a preference side of things. I like Watson better than Lamar Jackson, even though actually power rankings I would probably put him ahead as a passer too. But I like what Dabo Swinney
I like
said.
Deshaun because Deshaun's not a scrambling quarterback. Deshaun's a quarterback with an arm that also has legs that work.
Absolutely. Dabo Swinney was basically like, if you don't take Deshaun Watson number 1 overall, you're stupid. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but
and he made everyone.
Oh yeah. Here's the interesting thing. Here's the interesting thing about this matchup is both quarterbacks were taken in the same draft, 2 picks apart, and the funny thing is Mitchell Trubisky was taken number 2 overall. Man, could you imagine? Hold on, let's just pause for a second. Can we imagine the Chicago Bears with that defense and either Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun quarterback? They're a Super Bowl contender every year. Every year.
And wasn't there? They were talking about they were going to trade the pick for like what was it? It was like they were going to trade the pick for Phillip Rivers.
Oh really?
Like the Bears could have had that defense and Phillip Rivers too.
Oh, that would have been a
like that would have been a Super Bowl team. But no, we're going to pick Mitch Trubisky, who can't even play quarterback.
Listen,
bad decisions happen every day.
In 2017, my Buffalo Bills were picking at 10 and traded back with the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes was sitting there and back LSU corner Tre'Davious White. Now listen, Tre'Davious White is an A-plus corner. He anchors our defense. I love Tre'Davious White. But the thought that we could have had Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson just makes me go crazy. Because we didn't draft Deshaun Watson because we were just getting over the Tyrod Taylor thing. And we were done with athletic quarterbacks. And then Patrick Mahomes kind of a wild card. Like, people didn't know what they were getting with Patrick Mahomes. And so –
well, here's the thing. Everyone talks about how the Chiefs are just – it's surefire. Why did 10 teams pass on Patrick Mahomes? There's not a single person that thought the Chiefs were smart picking Mahomes.
Nope.
They're like, why did they pick him? And then they were like, they've got Alex Smith. There's no reason to let him play. And then I remember the last game that year. I purposely watched the Chiefs game because they were like, we're going to start Patrick Mahomes. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a slaughter. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, my goodness, this guy's amazing.
It's good.
Well, and I wonder what they saw in him to know that, or if they just took a gamble, or if they actually saw something that no one else did. I
can tell you exactly what they saw. Andy Reid saw a huge arm, and he saw wet clay. That's what he saw. He saw a kid with a giant, probably one of the strongest arms. There's always that Facebook, Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, who has the strongest arm. It's right there. He has one of the strongest arms ever, and he saw a guy that was mobile enough to run an Andy Reid offense. And if Andy Reid could just mold this kid and rein him in a little bit, he was going to be special. To your point, he played that game, I think it was against the Broncos. His rookie season was one of the last games of the year. And then everybody's like, okay, he might be pretty good. And then week 1, that next season as the starter, he threw like 5 or 6 touchdowns. And it was like –
he shocked everyone.
Everybody just completely – I remember there was a girl in my fantasy football league that had never played fantasy football before, took Patrick Mahomes in like the 4th round. And we're all like, okay, Emily, like let's help you with this. You don't need to be picking Patrick Mahomes in the 4th round.
Still better
but then she won the league. She had Todd Gurley that year too. So
actually, this is interesting because last year, my first quarterback I picked was Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
And then I picked in the next round. I was like, I really got everything else set. I'll just pick another quarterback, and I picked Patrick Mahomes because I was like, that'll be someone to just stash on my bench. Dude, I lost my first 4 games because I was like, there's no way Mahomes is going to be this good. There's no way Mahomes is. And then I finally switched the 2, and I won out.
Right. Now, I want to say this about this matchup, and here's a few things that I want to say about the Chiefs and a few things I want to say about the Texans. Mahomes came back down to earth in the last 2 weeks. He's only thrown 1 touchdown in the last 2 weeks. The thing is there. I think that there was this notion that Patrick Mahomes was this Tom Brady plug-and-play quarterback. I do think that he needs weapons around him in order to be successful, just like anybody. I don't think he's immortal. I don't think he's just this crazy. I think he's still – Tyreek Hill's out. Sammy Watkins is struggling. He's out. He's got Demarcus Robinson and Hardman. He's got a really banged-up backfield. So there was a lot that was happening. And the Colts kind of exposed the Chiefs a little bit. And I'll be interested to see now that there's – a year and about a half of tape on him, if teams are going to be able to catch up a little bit to this Andy Reid offense and to what Patrick Mahomes is doing. Now, with that being said, I still think he's the most talented quarterback in the league, and I still think that he's probably going to position the Chiefs to be the number one seed in the AFC. But I think that there's a little bit of a blueprint coming in a combination with those injuries that may take the Chiefs from a 14-2 team to a 10-6, 11-5 team this year.
Okay, so it's the Chiefs offense. It's kind of like how they were like, well, how do you slow down the Warriors offense when they go small in basketball? Well, the only team that beat them that whole time, the only way you beat the Warriors when they went small is you took away one of their pieces. The Cavs beat them because they got Draymond suspended.
Yes.
The Raptors won because Kevin Durant tore his Achilles and Klay Thompson tore a ACL. I think that's the way you slow down the Chiefs' offense.
Well, I think what we're realizing is how valuable Tyreek Hill actually is. I think he is the most dominant weapon in the NFL.
Well,
I remember him. Listen, I know this hurts a little bit. I remember last year playing the Cowboys at the end of the half, and they basically threw a 30-yard screen to Tyreek Hill at the end of the half, and he just whoop, 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 scoots in, and I'm just like, what is going on? Now,
he's the best deep threat I think the game's ever seen.
Yeah, but that's where, we talk about how good Patrick Mahomes is, which he is. But that just goes to show you that it doesn't matter how great you are. If you don't have the rest of the team, it doesn't matter. And he has, and it's not that he has every single great player, but he has enough other great players that he's doing really good. And that's where a lot of times I've heard a lot of people compare him to Tom Brady. Tom Brady has had a good team around him. He's great too. But he has also had some great receivers. He's had a great O-line. He's had a great team around him to help him be as successful as he is. Had you stuck Tom Brady on the Browns?
Oh, I love that thought. I love that.
I mean, we wouldn't be talking about Tom Brady right now.
Right. No, I understand.
And so, Patrick Mahomes, I will say, just surprised me. But it shows how he just has to be a fast learner and a very good at he must take instruction well for them to have molded him into the quarterback he is now. He must, and I think it also goes to show you what type of coach he has.
Yeah.
The way that so to me, here's the mark of knowing when a quarterback's good. When they can recognize and differentiate a blitz from Tampa. Mm-hmm. And Mahomes does it almost every time.
Yeah.
Almost every time. And I think that's what Andy Reid saw. Andy Reid saw he could tell a blitz from Tampa. And then he was like, I can do that. This kid's obviously got a strong arm. His dad was a pro pitcher. People forget that his dad was a major league pitcher. And he throws a football at 60 miles an hour.
Right. That's ridiculous.
I mean, I can't even throw a baseball at 60 miles an hour.
People can't throw a baseball at 60 miles an hour. I mean,
one more thing on Patrick Mahomes that I kind of want to go over to talk about Deshaun Watson for a second. Yeah. But with Patrick Mahomes, the thing is, the one thing I worry about is this. Andy Reid has a knack for choking in big games. He always has. When he was in Philly, how many NFC championships did Andy Reid get to over and over? They finally broke through one year and lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl where Terrell Owens had broken.
And I just love it.
But here's the thing with Andy Reid. I worry that with all the window dressing and all of the fake this and fake, teams are going to stop biting on those things and figure it out. And I worry a little bit for the Chiefs. That's why I think the Colts kind of gave us a blueprint. And I think the Chiefs probably end up at 11-5. still win their division, but I don't think that they're going to be those world beaters that we thought. But going over to the other side, Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun Watson had a very different trajectory into the NFL than Mahomes had. With that ACL injury, he had to Mahomes kind of exploded onto the scene. Watson was there. He made a few splash plays, hurt himself, had to sit out for the rest of the season. He's kind of slowly getting back. It's weird because you almost feel like Watson has been in the league longer than Mahomes. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's because Watson was a day one starter.
Right. That's fair, too. Yeah.
And Watson was a day one starter, and Watson was on the trajectory. Like, people forget, Watson's rookie year, we were like, oh, dang, this dude's really good.
Yeah. That run against the Bengals on Sunday night, ridiculous.
And even as, like, it's like he was, 21?
Yeah.
And he was torching teams. And he was doing it with his arms, right. and then the pocket would collapse, and he'd do a 30-yard run, just like, and I make the joke every year. I think, is this the year I can finally be a Texans fan?
Right.
And every year something would go wrong.
Right.
Watson's rookie year, Watson got hurt a little bit because he was kind of stupid in that run, but a lot of it because there was no O-line. There's never been an O-line in Texas.
Right.
And they finally addressed it with Laramie Tunsil.
Oh yeah, that's a great. I don't care about your first round pick. Protect Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, like that was worth it. Worth it. And Laramie Tunsil's what, 25?
A little younger. I think it's 24, yeah.
Yeah, so what? You're gonna find a rookie that's worth more than what you're going to get out of Laramie Tunsil for the rest of his career?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that was worth it. And then underrated aspect, Kenny Stills has been tearing it up too as that third receiver.
Will Fuller.
Yeah, like they've got the best receiving core minus the tight end.
Are you
in the league?
A fan again?
Like they are my number 2 team. I've been talking I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. That's my thing. I am waiting for the shoe to drop. It's probably going to be another Watt back in.
No, he's like every Cowboys fan. Every Cowboys fan remembers that playoff game where Tony Romo fumbled the ball because he missed the snap, and instead of winning because we got the extra point, we lost.
The Seahawks game you talking about?
Yeah.
I remember watching it with my great-grandma.
Or watching Dez actually catch a ball and the referee screwing them out of it.
As somebody who lived in Wisconsin.
We're not even go into that.
Oh, my gosh.
But I remember, and that's what, I remember that one game, though. I was watching it with my great-grandma, who called Romo Romeo. She never got that. And I remember her yelling, "Did my Romeo just do that?" And we were like, "Yes, Grandma. Yes, Grandma."
Yeah.
But then, so, that same kind of hurt that he gets of, you really hope this is the year. They can do it. They're going to win the whole thing. And then, something always happens. And, Cowboys since, 95? Yeah, 95.
When did Aikman retire? 98?
Well, last time they won a Super Bowl.
Okay, 95.
95. It's kind of, I believe it's 95. It's that same kind of thing of, you keep thinking, hey, maybe we're back. And then it's like, nope. And, the Texans, maybe we finally have a team. And then it's like, nope, they still don't. But Texans have bad luck. I'm sorry. You guys got bad luck.
That's fair.
It's just your good players are always getting hurt, and then you don't have any.
But the Texans have been really decently successful for being the newest franchise in the league.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
They make good choices on who they are going to. Are you going to keep the first pick, or are you going to trade for a good player?
I mean, obviously the second newest team has 2 Super Bowls, but we're going to ignore that. So, but
here's the thing. I think this is going to be another shootout. I don't think either defense is going to be able to keep up with either offense. I see this as a 31-28, and I'm going to take Houston. I think Houston's going to turn a corner, and I think that they're going to do just enough on defense to do it. And I think Watson is going to make the difference. I think the difference in this game is going to be two things. I think DeAndre Hopkins goes off, and I think Deshaun Watson plays with his legs. I'm going to say that Deshaun Watson probably has 75 yards rushing in this game.
Yeah,
I can see that.
And if he doesn't, Johnson Jr. is going to tear it up.
I hope so. He's on my bench right now, but I hope he doesn't tear it
up. Well, I'm actually going to tell you why you're wrong. I started Deshaun Watson, so he's going to get like 12 points, and so because that's the way it's gone this year in fantasy. I have.
He was on just last week.
He was on my bench. I started Russell Wilson over him, and Wilson had a good game, but I lost my game by the difference between Russell Wilson and Deshaun.
Ooh.
If I had started Deshaun, I would have won by 0.1 points.
No, it's still better than me last year.
And yeah, and
hey, listen,
I lost.
I'll say this. As much as it pains me, the Patriots defense has carried my fantasy football team this year. They've scored a touchdown in almost every game. So
yeah, as much as I hate it, I picked up your Bills, and they've been helpful for me. So
they've been good. So, but
you get. Well, so with that, I guess that's a good end spot, guys.
You never talked about your worst owners, though.
Well, yeah, we can get into that another time. We can get into that another time because it's obviously Dan Snyder, but we'll leave that alone. So, with that,
I have
like us.
Why I hated Jerry Jones.
Well, with that, you guys like us.
Not enough.
Yeah, that could be a whole pod in itself. How much she hates Jerry Jones.
I don't hate him. I just greatly dislike him. But I'm sure he's a nice person, not as an owner.
I have a good anecdote that I'll save for that. But with that, guys, like us, share us, give us some 5-star reviews, and we will catch you next time on Sports Den, the podcast.
Peace.